Welcome back to another episode of Roc Boys Football. I'm coming to you with a solo episode here, but we wanted to get this news out and share our thoughts on what's going on in Michigan State as Brandon Jordan, their pass rush specialist, has decided to accept a role with the Seattle Seahawks. Now, before we get into the show, I just wanted to thank everyone for all the support. It honestly does mean the world to us in where we came from to now. Again, that's all because of you guys and how much engagement and interaction and in liking, watching, subscribing, all that. And again, it does mean the world. So if you do like the content, please consider subscribing. And now getting into this news, though, this is, to me, it doesn't feel like super surprising news at the end of the day, just because when Brandon Jordan accepted this position, it was almost surprising in the sense he's way overqualified probably for this job, because you look at what he's done in his career, that is Brandon Jordan, is he's worked with so many of the top NFL pass rushers and have trained guys entering in the draft and has really built up a really incredible reputation for being one of those guys that if you want to really develop as a pass rusher, you go see Brandon Jordan. And you look at how far Rashawn Gary's come, honestly, and again, a Michigan guy, a guy who I think in college had a good career for sure, but I don't think you saw him quite hit his peak. And then after a couple years in the NFL, you saw him really develop into that guy. Maybe when he came in as the top recruit overall in his high school recruiting class, you saw him blossom into that guy by the time he was in the NFL. And again, Rashawn Gary, you see, if you follow his Instagram and some of his social media, which I do as a Michigan fan, you see his work with Brandon Jordan, and I think he does give Coach Jordan a fair amount of credit. So again, when Brandon Jordan accepted the job of an assistant D-line coach at Michigan State, it felt like it probably wasn't going to be his main thing. It probably wasn't going to be permanent, again, because he was still going to work with his NFL clients and the guys coming into the draft who are starting to train for their NFL careers coming from college. That was never going to be put on the back burner. I don't think that was never going to be the plan. I think, again, I like the move. I think it made sense for Brandon Jordan and Michigan State, because Michigan State would get I mean, he's a big name in that D-line edge rush community for sure. So I certainly think it helped their recruiting profile having him. I mean, you look at guys like Bai Job coming in 2023. You see a guy like Tunmis Adele coming from Texas A&M. Those are huge recruiting wins, and I don't think it's all because of Brandon Jordan, but I'm sure he had a big part in attracting those type of guys to a place like Michigan State, where, again, you look at what Michigan State was doing recruiting-wise really before Mel Tucker. They were not winning those type of battles for those high marquee names. So again, I don't necessarily think that this news is going to cripple Michigan State, but I think probably now where Michigan State's looking is, what does this mean for their pursuit of David Stone? And that, at this point for the 2024 class, feels like that's going to be their biggest battle. That'll be the cornerstone of that class. And David Stone did tweet something to the effect of, "Oh wow," with, I believe, an emoji, but I could be wrong on that. But again, I think at the end of the day, this is what you pay in Mel Tucker for, though, because you look across the country, every big program loses assistant coaches pretty consistently. That's just part of the game. I mean, Alabama is going to lose both their coordinators in one season. They still finished with the top recruiting class in 2023. Michigan lost D coordinators, offensive coordinators still came back, won the Big Ten. So that's what those preeminent head coaches are paid to do. Mel Tucker is certainly getting paid his share to become that guy. And for me, I think he's going to be able to do it. I think where Mel Tucker's taking this program in terms of putting them in contention for big-time recruits, obviously had a great year in 2021, less so in 2022, but he's still trying to get his pieces of the puzzle into play and build the program his way. So you got to give him a few years, just because the way D'Antonio did it was so different than what Mel Tucker's going to do. And And frankly, I don't think Mark D'Antonio ever had a team culture, not culture, but the way he ran the program where he wasn't an aggressive recruiter. It would have always been really hard for Michigan State to get into that elite echelon with the Michigans, with the Ohio States. And I think where Michigan State wants to go, they had to make a move. And I think Mel Tucker's the guy for the job. So at the end of the day, I don't think I'd be overreacting to this news if I was a Michigan State fan. I think if Mel Tucker's the guy we think he is, he should be able to keep this train rolling along. And if David Stone was going to leave or go to Michigan State, which who knows, it's a little early for us to be making those predictions, but I think at the end of the day, if he was going to pick Michigan State with Brandon Jordan, I think Mel Tucker should be able to keep the infrastructure, program, culture in place to be able to keep a guy like David Stone on board, even though Brandon Jordan has decided to move on to the next level. So I don't think I'd overreact to this news. Again, I think the fact that Brandon Jordan was at Michigan State in the first place at the assistant D-line spot probably suggested to most Michigan State fans that this wasn't going to be a permanent move. So I don't think this should change that much. I do think it probably will make some difference in the David Stone recruitment, which certainly matters. But again, you can't build your whole program on that one player or that one recruiting battle. So I still think Mel Tucker, again, he's the guy. It's his show. In if he couldn't survive that move from Brandon Jordan, I don't think it's going to work either way. But again, I think Mel Tucker is the guy for this job. I think he is the guy to take Michigan State into the next era and recruit the way they need to recruit, develop the way they need to develop, and do what they need to do. So I don't think if I was a Michigan State fan, I'd be overreacting. Again, I think if David Stone didn't tweet much about it or didn't give any indication that Brandon Jordan was a huge part of his decision, I don't think this would be a huge story just because I think it was kind of expected to an extent, I believe. But again, I think Michigan State's going to be just fine. I think Mel Tucker's the guy, so I wouldn't overreact. But yeah, I wanted to keep that short. I just wanted to give my take on it again as a Michigan fan. Big news in the state. So thank you all for watching. We'll be back soon.